Hi everyone, welcome to a new video. Today's subject, ZWILLING JA Henckels vs Messermeister. A quality knife is one of the best kitchen tools you can invest in. It'll make cooking not only easier, but more enjoyable too. When it comes to choosing a good kitchen knife, two great brands people usually come along are ZWILLING JA Henckels and Messermeister. In this article, I'm going to tell you the differences between these two great brands. I'll go in-depth into the details of each, talking about where they are made, what materials are used and the difference in price. This article should provide all the information you need to select the right knife for your needs. ZWILLING JA Henckels and Messermeister knives are very similar in terms of quality and price. They use many of the same materials and are produced in the same German city. The main difference is the design. ZWILLING JA Henckels knives are very classic, whereas the premium collections of Messermeister have a very modern and sleek design. My ZWILLING JA Henckels recommendation. You can't really go wrong with the ZWILLING JA Henckels Professional S. The steel is ultra durable, ideal for busy kitchens, and it's very unlikely to rust or chip. It uses POM thermoplastic for the handle, so there's next to no chance of it distorting under the general moisture and temperature fluctuations you get in the kitchen. It's a great knife and one of the best examples of a quality Western chef's knife you'll find. ZWILLING is considered by many to be one of the best kitchen knife brands in the world. One of the first things you'll notice when picking up a ZWILLING knife is its weight and heft, both signs of a well-crafted blade. These knives are known for their balance and precision, which can largely be attributed to the brand's use of a full tang design that evenly distributes weight along the length of the blade. You can easily balance these knives on an open palm or even two extended fingers. My Messermeister recommendation. For my Messermeister recommendation, I've gone with one from their premium collection, especially the Oliva Elite collection. This knife is stunning. I think it's the most attractive Western-style chef's knife available, and it's the designs of their premium collections that is the main differing factor between Messermeister and ZWILLING JA Henckels knives. It uses the same steel as the ZWILLING JA Henckels, so it's still ultra durable, but the olive wood handle gives it such a beautiful finish that it really stands out from other knives. Olive wood won't be quite as durable as the POM thermoplastic used on their main Meridian Elite collection, so you will have to avoid doing things like soaking it in the kitchen sink, because that's clearly going to warp the wood over time. But as timber goes, olive wood is still good material for knife handles. It's hard and strong, so it will be durable. It's just hard to match the artificially created durability of substances like POM with natural materials. It's a great knife, so if you want to add a bit of beauty to your kitchen, then there are few better choices than this Messermeister Oliva Elite. ZWILLING JA Henckels vs Messermeister. What is the difference? It's clear that ZWILLING JA Henckels and Messermeister are very similar in terms of quality. They use most of the same materials and are even manufactured in the same city. So if you're choosing between the two, you can rest easy that there is hardly any difference in quality or price. Therefore, that leaves one main difference between the two. The main difference between ZWILLING JA Henckels and Messermeister knives is the design. I find Messermeister knives to be more stylish, and their Royale and Oliva Elite collections are particularly beautiful. ZWILLING JA Henckels knives are much more classic in their design. There is no large difference in the quality of these two brands, and both have been built in the traditional Western way of keeping durability in front of mind. Really, the main difference is the design of their collections. ZWILLING JA Henckels knives are very traditional. However, Messermeister knives, especially their premium ranges, are much more sleek and stylish. ZWILLING JA Henckels vs Messermeister, which is better for you? Whichever you buy, you will get a good quality, durable knife that is comfortable to hold and well balanced. They use almost all the same materials and are even produced in the same city, so there really is no difference in quality to speak of. The main difference between the knives is the design, especially in the premium collections. ZWILLING JA Henckels knives always look pretty classic. They are very traditional, and I think that does appeal to a lot of people. You can't really dislike the look of a ZWILLING JA Henckels because they are so inoffensive in terms of their design. They basically look exactly how a kitchen knife should. Messermeister, however, especially in their premium ranges, opt for a more modern and stylish look, using timbers like American walnut and olive wood for their handles, which really results in an exquisite appearance. It won't make much difference to the performance when compared with ZWILLING JA Henckels, but they sure do look good. So whether you like the classic look of the ZWILLING JA Henckels knives or the modern look of the Messermeister knives, you can be sure that whichever you pick, you aren't missing out on any big difference in quality between the two. ZWILLING JA Henckels versus Messermeister, where are they made? ZWILLING JA Henckels knives are produced in the German city of Zolingen, where they have been produced since their launch in 1731. ZWILLING JA Henckels are not to be confused with knives labeled just JA Henckels. ZWILLING knives are distinctly marked with the logo of the two stick-like people. JA Henckels knives, without the ZWILLING mark, are not made in Germany. ZWILLING is a huge group, which owns various knife brands. Generally, ZWILLING knives are a mark of quality. The most well-known brand within the ZWILLING group is JA Henckels, but ZWILLING also owns other more surprising brands like Kramer and Miyabi, which are both made in Japan. Messermeister knives are also produced in the German city of Zolingen, where they have been produced since their launch in 1985. Messermeister is German for knife, Messer, Maser, Meister. They have always had a focus on innovative design whilst still being influenced by German classics. Bernd Dressler, the founder of Messermeister, was the first Western knife maker to introduce a bolsterless heel to his knife range, a trend that is found throughout Western knives today. ZWILLING has by far the longest heritage, but both these brands are true to their roots and produce their knives in the heart of the German knife industry, Zolingen. ZWILLING JA Henckels versus Messermeister, what steel do they use? The steel used in knives will often change depending on which range you pick. Here I'm going to focus on the most popular range for both ZWILLING JA Henckels and Messermeister knives. Both these knives use the same steel, X50 CRMOB15, and there is no difference in the hardness between the two. Both the ZWILLING Professional S and Messermeister Meridian Elite ranges use X50 CRMOV15. Messermeister usually markets it with the name 1.4116, but the steel is the same. It's a German steel that is popular amongst producers of quality Western-style knives. That's because it has a particular focus on durability, whilst retaining enough strength for a sharp edge. The main elements of interest within X50 CRMOV15's composition are carbon, vanadium, and chromium. The carbon content is around 0.55%. That's not particularly high when comparing it with other quality knives, however, it's high enough to provide sufficient strength in the blade for a 15 to 20 degree angle on each side, which is standard for Western knives. The big benefit of not having a very high carbon content is that higher carbon steels are usually more brittle, therefore the 0.55% content keeps the blade durable. That's the same with the strong vanadium of 0.4%, vanadium improves the resistance to wear of the steel, also adding to its durability. The chromium content is 15% is what the 15 in X50 CRMOV15 represents. Chromium is vital for the durability of steel as it's what makes stainless steel resistant to rust. Steel need only be 10.5% to be considered stainless, so a 15% content is high and makes this a quality stainless steel, very unlikely to rust unless extremely mistreated by the owner. The Rockwell hardness, HRC, of each knife is also the same at HRC 57, so there really is no difference to speak of between the steel used by ZWILLING JA Henckels and Messermeister. ZWILLING JA Henckels versus Messermeister, how sharp are they? Once again, I'm going to focus on the most popular knives from each brand for this comparison. You will experience an identical sharpness between both ZWILLING JA Henckels and Messermeister. Their factory angle is the same and they use the exact same steel. Both ZWILLING JA Henckels and Messermeister use the same steel for their main range, as such there will be very little difference between the two when it comes to sharpness. They use the exact same steel, with the same hardness, and both feature the same 15-degree double bevel blade edge. There is nothing to choose between the two when measuring sharpness. ZWILLING JA Henckels versus Messermeister, what are the handles made from? The material used for handles is a vital and often overlooked feature of any knife. A quality handle is often the sign of a quality overall knife. Handles need to be made from a durable material that can withstand all the heat and moisture fluctuations knives can experience in the kitchen. Once again, we'll focus on the two main ranges from each brand, the ZWILLING Professional S and Messermeister Meridian Elite. Both ZWILLING Professional S and Messermeister Meridian Elite use a thermoplastic material called POM, polyoxymethylene, for their knife handles. Although, it is worth mentioning that Messermeister uses some very attractive timbers for their other ranges such as Royale Elite, American Walnut, and Oliva Elite, Olive Wood, that are exquisitely beautiful and perhaps one of the defining differences between the two brands. But for now, let's focus on POM as that is used by both brands in their main range. Materials like these are ideal for knife handles due to their extreme durability. POM is specifically designed for high stiffness and stability, and being a thermoplastic means it's also extremely resistant to temperature and moisture changes. It's a fantastic material to use for knife handles that will undergo all sorts of pressures, and it makes sense to use this material for your main range, which is usually your more practical range. However, as I've mentioned above, Messermeister in particular has some stunning handles in their other collections. I particularly like the olive wood handle used in their Oliva Elite collection. So, although their main range uses the same handle material, I'd say the exquisite timber used by Messermeister in their other collections is probably the defining difference between these two very similar brands. I'll link to the Messermeister Oliva Elite Chef's Knife at the bottom of this article, it's well worth a look. ZWILLING JA Henckels versus Messermeister, how much do they cost? Both these brands have wide ranges of knives, all at differing price ranges. To allow for a fairer comparison, I've categorized 3 of their major ranges that represent their highest and lowest cost knives. I've tried to compare similar knives, sticking to 8-inch chef's knives or the closest equivalent they have in the range. In brackets next to the general price range you'll see the name of the range. These prices are rough estimates. Prices do change over time, but this is intended as a rough guide. It's pretty clear that both ZWILLING JA Henckels and Messermeister offer a quite similar range of prices for their knives. Messermeister has a slightly lower price for their more value range, but after that, they pretty much scale by exactly the same amount. Given the similarities of these two brands, using much the same materials and even being produced in the same German city, it makes sense that their prices should be so similar. So when comparing ZWILLING JA Henckels and Messermeister, there really is very little difference in the price. Of course, prices do tend to change throughout the year, so it's always worth checking if one or the other is currently offered at a reduced rate.